skips a beat.
On lui met cul là, nous some kicks, yeah.
I can't see you're not yourself, even when you're here with me. I know that you're somewhere else, so put another record on, kiss and leave me on. Nothing really matters when we're dancing. Listen to the same sad song, play it on repeat. 'Cause every time we come this close, my heart skips
Skip a beat.
No, it's unrealistic, and if you look at most of the pictures that are in magazines, they're all airbrushed, and if you were to see them in the morning when they get up, they'd look like the rest of us.
In general, I don't believe so. I think that there's a lot of really bad advertising out there that tells people they need to look a certain way, they need to dress a certain way, they need to act a certain way. And I don't think that it's always the most positive image. I think it depends on what the media source is, but the general media source, especially if you're talking about teenagers and the shows that they're watching and the magazines that they're reading and the movies that they're watching, I think the message is a skinny, pretty, perfect skin, perfect body, perfect clothes, look good in everything message that isn't realistic.
It's not. The diets I've seen described to get that perfect figure, in magazines like that, you can't really be healthy like that, and I've known people who have tried those things and it's not healthy.
In most cases, I would say no, because it's unrealistic to be able to be those standards.
No, because they're all really skinny, and no one can ever be that skinny ever, unless they're like sick or something, so no.
No, I think it's an impossible lifestyle for them to follow because nobody looks like they do in the magazines. Even the people themselves who were filmed originally don't actually look like that in real life. So it's not even real.
Surprise, they're all smalls. Not gonna fit me. Rolling. Size 00. Size 7. Oh, getting bigger. Oh, there's another 00.
Now they have a 00. There's a 00. What are we aspiring to? Honey, do these jeans make my butt look invisible?
I think that for a grown person who's through puberty, fully grown, that is not an ideal weight and height. Here's what I will say. I don't like to judge anybody by a number. You could look at BMI statistics. BMI says that a BMI range would say that that would be a low BMI. It's around a 17. If you were to take those measurements, around 6 foot, 125 pounds, that's a BMI of 17, which is low or technically underweight. Mm-hmm. It also doesn't take into consideration muscle mass, lean muscle mass, body mass. So a person could be fairly healthy and exercising and taking care of themselves, but overall, I would say most models don't have a lot of muscle tone. They're very just thin and not defined. So I would guess that the muscle mass isn't as high in somebody who weighs that's modeling. So I think that I probably not the best proportions.
No, it's very unhealthy. Only somebody who has genetics to do that, or has some type of metabolic disorder, that might be normal for that person, but it's very unhealthy and very unnormal. And the person, to me, is barely existing, because you can't sustain yourself on a diet that is so low in calories that you're that thin. You can't function normally. It's one of many, and I had a close rapport with a young lady who had disordered eating just recently, and she gave me some really good insights as to what causes people to become anorexic and to have that particular body image. The disease takes over, and they can't think clearly because they're not getting the nutrients they need to make good decisions. Her thought, it was like tentacles wrapped around her brain, and she couldn't get out of it, and she's still struggling with it.
Well, I've dealt with both extremes of the spectrum of disordered eating, which includes binging and restricting, which means, I've had parts where I've ate a ton at once and, felt uncontrollable, but then I also had parts where I would eat very little at all. It was around 3 years ago when it was first brought to medical attention. And though I've struggled with body image long before that for years, and low self-esteem and unhealthy eating habits in general, but it hadn't gotten to a point where it was that serious yet. At least that's what I thought anyway. I later learned that there is not really a difference in what's serious and what isn't. It's all very serious. Initially, my treatment involved weekly visits with my doctor and a nutritionist and a therapist until last February, when I had gotten to a low enough weight where my doctor and my treatment team were really concerned for my health, and they forced me into a residential treatment center, which is one of the highest forms of treatment. There's inpatient in the hospital, but then there's also more long-term residential treatment, which really is supposed to help with a lot of the factors of it besides just being medically stable. So that's what that was, and it involved me going out of my home and school basically my entire life for a little over 2 months. And while I was there, obviously I gained weight, but I also gained new knowledge and insight into my eating disorder. Because next to eating, therapy is like the biggest part of treatment. It's impossible not to think about it when it seems to be in everything. I sometimes, often tell time by when I'm going to eat or when I should be eating or if I've already eaten. And when I'm at the grocery store, it's kind of difficult because every other product like in the aisles has like a calorie count stamped right on top of it. So, it's hard to ignore it when it's like right in front of your face. And things like that almost seem to feed the part of the brain that thinks in those terms. So, it's, it's pretty prominent in my life, I would say. I believe it does to a certain extent. Ultimately, it's up to the individual to decide whether or not they choose to let the standards of the industry influence their ideas of beauty. But I personally feel if a lot of women decided to disregard the fashion industry, like what they, the messages they put out, that they would lose some of the power they have over women's self-esteem in general. And I think that would help a lot with eating disorders and other, body image issues and the like.
Yeah, because most of the time they look at what is in those magazines or on those boards or in the advertisements, and they say to themselves, wow, that's what everybody thinks is beautiful, so therefore that must be beautiful, so therefore if I don't look like that, I must be ugly. And in order to be acceptable, I have to look like that. And that means with the type of makeup, the type of clothes, and the body image, whether it's an unhealthy image or not.
Yes. In most part because the fashion industry is a heavily print material industry. I would say the fashion industry relies heavily on magazines, and nothing in a magazine is not altered. To the best of my knowledge, pretty much every single piece of print material is going to be edited in some way, whether it changes the skin tone, the shape, the body size, whatever it is of that person, so that what is in print isn't real, and it's portrayed that way. So then people think that this is attainable, when even for these models, that's not what they really look like.
I would definitely say yes, though it's usually a combination of many different factors, a perfect storm if you will. Onset of the disorder can certainly be triggered by external factors such as a fashion industry.
Absolutely. I think that there's a lot of things that can happen in the environment of a person who, maybe has a parent that was suffered from anorexia. The parent's part of that environment too. I think that peer pressure, there's girls that can eat whatever they want and not exercise, and because of metabolism and genetics can maybe be skinnier or look different than somebody else who tries really hard to maybe lose weight or look a certain way. And I think people get frustrated and take extreme measures.
I want to feel you. I need to hear you.
I think yes and no. I think that the high-end fashion industry, as far as catwalks and model runways and runway shows and things like that, aren't usually willing to portray different body types. Clothing companies usually do a better job at that though, and having different sizes and different types of models. Some clothing companies have gotten better at it. So I think yes and no. I think that because of our society's expectations of what people are supposed to look like, it's going to take more than the fashion industry. But yeah, I think that would probably go a long way to help start changing the way people think.
No, but they will unless there's a law that says that they can't. And I believe there's a law over in the Middle East now where a model has to be a certain weight for like 6 months and not have fluctuated from that, because I believe there was one that died as a result of the disordered eating, and they don't want to have unhealthy models there. And I think they're trying to change that. They say they might, and I think there are a few people who are sincere about helping them out, but money talks.
You are the light that's leading me.
What they look like is not realistic, and everybody has a different body type. They have different genetics, and what we need to do when we look in the mirror is tell ourselves until we believe it, because we don't believe it.
The advice that I always tell everybody is that it's not real, and that you can't keep something like that up forever either. You know, you take people that are unhealthy like that, and it may seem like you can keep it up for a while, and it may even feel good, and maybe you'll lose weight, maybe feel good about yourself for a while. But unfortunately, especially with anorexia and heavy, quick weight loss and unhealthy lifestyles like that, you're going to cause chronic health problems for yourself. It can stop young women from having their period. They could become infertile, meaning they won't be able to have kids later on in life. It can cause a lot of other health problems. People who have anorexia and bulimia tend to have chronic bad breath and bad teeth, and your hair falls out, and there's a lot of other side effects that people don't realize happens with long-term unhealthiness like that. And so again, you're looking at models who are made up every day and have professional people doing their hair and makeup and fixing them up, and it's we don't see the dirty side of it. And so I always tell people, if you're trying to emulate somebody who's living an unhealthy lifestyle, you know, anything may work short term, but nothing's going to be good long term, and it could end up doing permanent damage to you. So just to pay attention to what the model is, and maybe realize if it's real or not, and then sort that out for yourself. How healthy is that? What does that lifestyle look like? Could I maintain that long term and still keep myself healthy?
Beauty isn't between a size 0 and a size 8. It is not a number at all. It is not physical.